Spin goes the little wheel, and it now tells us we are live. Hello, one and all.
We are live. We are live. Hello, everyone. Thank you very much, you, for making me allowed to be on your device. Angry says you've got to be on your device because he'll smack me. But you say I can be on your device because you can look at me on the viewing. And also, Angry says I've got to come from my deathbed.
Yep, that's fair. I did drag him in. Dragged him out of hospital. He was in the hospital just a day ago. So hi, who's here? Hi, Luke, Lion Spider, Musical Aviator, and I assume that's the same dipshit that was using Friendly Geordies as a screen name last week. Reasonably high chance I'm going to block this person because I really am not a fan of fuckery. So doing dumb shit like faking. You may not know AZ. Isaac Butterfield is a reasonably well-known right-wing Australian YouTuber who thinks he's a comedian. And cutting edge wise, like he actually has shows in the Melbourne Comedy Festival last year and this year, and he does this cutting edge thing where he uses 10-year-old memes on his poster. So he's down with the kids. This person who's just faked the screen name has absolutely zero leeway. Because I'm quite convinced it's the same person who did it with the screen name of another well-known Australian YouTuber last week. And I don't know. My feeling is behave like a cunt. I'm going to treat you like a cunt.
My boss of the house is a Friendly Geordies fan. So I get to see a bit of Friendly Geordies. So, look, folks, right? Okay, I'm going to give you a bit of the educations here now.
Give me an education, brother.
So you got to know that Studio AZ is set up in my screen, which is cutting edge, nearly 10-year-old laptop. Thank you.
Yes.
And next to it is boss of the house's computer, which is considerably better than mine, considering he's a fucking computer scientist. Okay, so go fuck yourself. And so I have two screens next to me, doing two different internets all the time.
Right.
So I'll be looking at my internet, like, researching, researching, and then something will come on boss of the house's internet, and I'll be like, what's going on over there? And I'll be often, sometimes, all the time, get distracted, and Friendly Geordie jumps up a lot, and I learned a lot about his opinions about the New South Wales fires.
He got a bit of attention for that. Going
did
in
he really?
hard. No.
Oh, because he went in hard. He went in really fucking hard, and he went in hard with research. Like nothing he said was wrong, but he went in with emotion as well. He was pissed, nothing he said was factually incorrect by any means, and he was really annoyed. And his fun thing is he goes married at first sight. That's his fun thing.
Yeah, he's been getting a lot of media coverage from the married at first sight stuff because he's been having enormous. Hey, I do want you to keep going on that. I'm going to slightly oblique to note Justin, who's been working on the Americans Abroad caucus for the American primaries, which officially happened today. and Bernie Sanders is killing it in Australia. So that's something.
Wow.
And
There you
hi,
go.
Megaleech has just come in too. Yeah.
Hey guys.
And Phil Tudor. Hey, how you doing, buddy?
It's always good to see you good people.
Yeah, it is.
And yeah, so yeah, Friendly Geordie's look, because he's in Sydney, yeah?
I
And
think so, yes.
yeah, he's in Sydney, sort of northish, westish. Yeah, he's in there. And
That I don't know. Yeah.
well, that's the yeah, that's okay. That's the impression from all of the signals he's been giving.
Oh, okay. Okay, fair enough.
Anyway, I couldn't and wouldn't go any tighter than that.
Right here.
So you can imagine, as fires have come all the way down the fucking dividing range, and around Sydney, that's pretty close to where the fires are coming. And of course, Western Sydney is pretty close to where the fires are coming anyway. If you're a Westie of any kind, of any shape or stripe, fires are coming to you, which is why the fuck they vote Liberal. I will never know, because they will get fucked over every time. We got Geordie's is in the seat of Wentworth. Said Turnbull was his local member. So Wentworth.
That's eastern suburbs.
Eastern suburbs. There you go. Well, yeah, he was definitely in the line of fire. That's for sure. That's absolutely for sure. And well, you can get it's
No.
and
Right. I just noticing Megaleech thinks you've had a sexy haircut. Have you had a sexy haircut, or is his imagination?
Thank you, Megaleech. No, what's happened? I'm a bit embarrassed about what's happened.
Yeah.
Is I came out of hospital and didn't have my post-hospital shower, so it's all a bit crackly. As in, it's sort of standing up on its own in nasty, sweaty, nasty, sweaty, sticky. You know how you get salty,
yes. Okay.
Structures in your hair
Yes.
after a strong workout.
Yep, that's what you've been doing. You've been pumping iron. Pumping
iron. I haven't been pumping iron.
No? Okay.
No, pumping iron's a lie. What I've been pumping is sweat, because I, you know how I don't, sometimes, rarely, I don't go to hospital straight away when I should.
Yep. Like this week.
Sorry?
Like this week. You
Yes.
I think you delayed this hospital stay for a day or two longer than you should have.
Yes, I did. And the last one I did as well, which was last week.
Yeah.
So the last week one I delayed, and that was, yes. And then this one I delayed as well. And as part of it was I was perspiring a lot. Fucking buckets. I went down to my chemist to do my daily hello to the chemist, and I was literally pissing sweat. And I thought, they're going to not serve me. They're going to make me go away for an hour before I come back, because they do that. They say, you're on drugs, go away for an hour and come back. And I have on occasion not been on drugs, but sometimes I get all spastic because I'm pre um, uh, fit. What do they call that?
Pre-seizure.
Pre-seizure. And often not often. So most of the time, so 3/4 of the time, I can settle down and actually let it pass away, and then come back and go, hey, let's keep going with the day. But I can't always do that. And when I went to the chemist, I was like sweating like crazy and like just schwitzing and shaking. And anyway, I thought, oh, they're going to tell me to go away. Anyway, the chemist there, she said, "Are you all right? You look go and sit down. You look terrible." And so she served me and said, "Dude, seriously think about going to the hospital." And then later on that night, Ross the House made the decision for me.
Football.
Again. And so, I went, and I thought it's going to be one of these, wait for 6 hours. No, straight in. I was surprised at that. Straight in. I thought for sure this was going to be a long time thing. No, straight in. And then they started pumping drugs into me straight away, which, by the way, in about half an hour, I'm going to have one, which is going to be interesting because by the end of the the program, I'm going to be in an interesting frame of mind.
Well,
this, by the way, is Power Wheat Bix. Sorry, go on. You're going to say?
No, I was just going to say that's something for the kids to look forward to. Medicated AIDSy.
Medicated AIDSy. Part of the reason this all fucking fell apart was AIDSy didn't medicate properly. And no one was very happy with that. Particularly the crazy cats at the hospital. In fact, they were pissed. They were wildly pissed because they said, "What's going on?" And I said, "Oh, this and blah and blah, and what are you usually taking? Bliss and blah and blah." Okay, well, can you bring it in? No, I've run out. When did you run out? Last week. That's not good, is it? Because these meds, you're not supposed to stop straight away. You're not supposed to do that at all. And they were just going, "Oh, we're so unhappy with you right now." And anyway, life goes on. So that's where we. Oh, did I take my other shit? Did I take my other antibiotic? Hang on, I've got to look in the packet.
You'll have to check your supply, see if there's one.
I'm going to check the packet. Yeah, it's in there somewhere.
All right. Luke pointing out, I don't know how much news you have caught up on AIDSy, but with the glory of coronavirus, you're probably lucky to have your hospital stay this week and not in another month because the system's going to be a bit overloaded in a month. But yes, things that are starting to happen or look like happening. Sporting events will be held without a crowd. I think that will be really fun and surreal. I actually want to watch a bit of the football on TV with no crowd because that will just be weird.
Do you know what it'll be like?
What will it be like?
It'll be like the football when you were a kid. Because the football back in those days was a few people watching and the team playing. And in fact, I reckon you'll have footballers going, it reminds me of when I was a kid.
Quite possibly.
Because
Yeah.
because I remember an interview
Yeah.
with a team that went out to the middle of Australia to give some emotional pump up. You're going to have to give me words because
Yeah. No,
I'm
that's
so
fair.
confused that I have no words left. The seizures. Okay, I had 8 seizures, and my words are basically very confused. I know what I want to say, but I can't reach the words that I want. So they went out into the bush to give the kids a pump up, and so the white fellas and the black fellas went in there and said, these kids fucking play on dirt pitches
Yeah.
with bits of gravel in them, and they play
Yes.
with
Sounds
no
familiar.
shoes,
Yeah.
and they fucking bolt down there and do marks that are like 2 meters high, like
Yeah.
just come down, just amazing players, and it's all for the love of it.
Yeah.
So they went out there to give them a little bit of esprit de corps. And anyway, one of the white fella players was saying, "Oh, fuck, this is great. It reminds me of playing when I was a kid." Because when you start up, there's not 100,000,000 people cheering and screaming and throwing panties and room keys. It's just very, very simple. And so a lot of sports that usually have lots and lots of crowd in them, that won't have lots and lots of crowd in them, will be able to reconnect with their starting place.
Well, that's a very
Swim.
poetic way of looking at it. I like that. You've taken something weird and made it poetic and beautiful. You've the soul of an angel, Aidsy. You've the soul of an angel.
And the genitals of a demon. It's part of the dance we live in. Maybe I'm just an Escher.
Yeah, I'm trying to think if it was a Terry Pratchett book, they're explaining the difference between demons and fallen angels, because angels are asexual, including fallen angels, but actual demons have huge cocks. So if you're down in hell, that's how you know which ones are demons and which ones are fallen angels. So
That's right.
there you go.
But the fallen angels are meaner because they've got no
Because they don't have cocks. Yeah.
Yeah.
I take it personally. Oh yeah, we're talking. Okay, the other thing is like Grand Prix going ahead in Melbourne, but I think their crowd numbers are going to be way down. It's probably not going ahead. End of this month, comedy festival's due to start. Even if it goes ahead, the crowds are going to be like 50 to 90% down, which is fucking terrible. I've mentioned this before. That means independent comedians who've sunk all their spare money into a venue and staging a show, and they hope desperately to break even, are going to lose everything. This is actually going to have a really debilitating effect on the comedy scene, with a lot of independent comedians taking a hit that they really can't afford. I don't even know how it works for big names with, they've banked everything.
Do you want me to tell you how it works for little names and big names?
It's the voice of experience.
Little names have got to go into the comedy festival expecting to lose everything, right? It's an investment that you don't expect to reap. You don't actually expect to reap any of it back.
Yeah.
Okay. If you're a big name in the comedy festival, everything that you do and get is paid for you. You are on a fee, and the fee is 85%. So all of your expenses are paid. So you rock up to a very nice hotel, and you get your per diems, which are fucking very nice. Per diems are basically money that you get every day for your day-to-day expenses. They're usually for things like lunch and meals and just bits and pieces, smokes and chewing gum. And the per diems are in the order of $250 a day. They get their meals paid, they get their accommodation paid, and then they go and do their job for an hour to an hour and a half a day. They don't do any. They don't do any personal publicity. They do, however, expected to turn up to radio. They're expected to turn up to photography. They're expected to turn up to, if there's any TV, they're expected to turn up to that.
Yeah.
And if there's any VIP publicity, so sometimes you get the premier, and you get parliamentarians, and you get big business names, and you get the big people of Victoria. If they have a dinner or a breakfast or a whatever, you're expected to turn up to that and expected to be very witty and charming. You can tear shit out of the premier if you want. But you're expected to be witty, charming, and you expect to be on the ball. So that's what the big names get. But the little names basically get it in the arse every time, every year. But every now and again, the little guy gets up. And that's the big dream, is the little guy gets up, and it happens.
Yeah.
Sorry again?
That's the 100-to-1 shot. I know Luke's saying because the Fringe Festival's on in Adelaide at the moment. Luke's wondering if the numbers are down. Probably, although you did remind me, I saw a funny tweet, someone trying to promote their Fringe show, and they said, hey, if this news of coronavirus has you scared of being in large crowds, I recommend you come and see my Fringe show.
I
thought that was very good. Very good self-deprecating.
Very nice. Yeah. Very, very, very nice. Gotta like that. Yeah.
We're talking about the things that get shut down, like all of Italy. I'm going to read you a thread I saw on Twitter today. And with a huge disclaimer, this is anecdotal. I can't verify this, but this is a guy whose Twitter bio says he's a registrar in anesthesia, and he's working in here we go. He's what he says, from a well-respected friend who's currently in northern Italy. I feel the pressure to give you a quick personal update about what's happening in Italy and also give some quick direct advice about what you should do. First, he's in a place called Lombardy. It's the most developed region in Italy, has an extraordinarily good healthcare. I've worked in Italy, UK, and Australia, and don't make the mistake to think what's happening is happening in a third world country. Current situation is difficult to imagine, and numbers do not explain things at all. Our hospitals are overwhelmed by COVID-19, running at 200% capacity. We've stopped all routine. All ORs have been converted to intensive care units. They're now diverting and not treating all other emergencies like trauma or strokes. There are hundreds of people with severe respiratory failure. Many of them do not have access to anything above a reservoir mask. Patients above 65 or younger with comorbidities are not even assessed. And I'm not saying not tubed, I'm saying not assessed. And no intensive care staff attend when they arrest. Staff is working as much as they can, but they're starting to get sick and are emotionally overwhelmed. My friends call me in tears because they see people dying in front of them and can only offer some oxygen. Ortho and pathologists are being given leaflet and sent to see patients. We've seen the same pattern, different areas a week apart. There's no reason that in a few weeks it won't be the same everywhere. This is the pattern. A few positive cases, first mild measures. People are told to avoid big things, but still hang out in groups. Everyone says don't panic. Some moderate respiratory failure, a few severe ones that need tubing. Regular access to emergency significantly reduced. So everything looks great. And tons of patients with moderate respiratory failure that over time deteriorate. They saturate intensive care units, and then it spreads out. Staff gets so sick, it gets so difficult to cover for shifts. Mortality spikes also from all other cases because they can't be treated properly. Everything about how to treat them is online. The only thing that will make a difference, don't be afraid of massively strict measures to keep people safe. If the government will do it, at least keep your family safe. Your loved one with a history of cancer or diabetes or transplant will not be tubed if they need it, even if they're young. By safe, I mean you don't attend them. You decide who does. You teach them how to. Another typical attitude is read and listen to people saying things like, oh, you think this is bad, dude, and then they go out for dinner because you think you'll be safe. We've seen it. If you don't take it seriously, it'll happen. I hope it won't be as bad as here, but be prepared. So that's like a fun sort of dark oversight. It's all the knock-on effects that are particularly bad because if the hospital gets overwhelmed, no one gets treated.
What I was going to say was, is there anything that you'd like me to do before this turns up? Because that what you've described there, that comorbidity, is me.
Yeah.
And for someone not to get tubed, that would be me. Mind you, I reckon going in, I would be giving it a lot of, hey guys, how you doing? You've seen me before, you know me, and give them a number and being as friendly as I can, being the guy they don't want to, you know, die. Put a big smiley face on my head and my UR number. Oh, look at this. I'm going to show you this up close.
Right. Still being in the hospital.
Nowadays, they put QR codes
on
the wristbands.
Yeah.
And instead of coming over and, you know, making it a big hassle, or what's his student number, what's your patient number? They have this little almost like a torch thing, and doodle. So even in your sleep, they just go
they find out everything about you.
and everything comes down on their. Oh, it's all new now. They've unfucked the computer system, and all the computer systems talk to one another.
Yeah. Well, that's good.
They have never done that before.
Yes.
You can't get
IT. That's a really big problem when computer systems don't talk to each other.
Oh, massive. Fucking, if you wanted an X-ray, you had to go to another place to get the X-ray. If you wanted a blood test, your blood test would turn up, but the other one wouldn't. So you had to go and get the paper blood test. And of course, you know, you're busy and there's things to do and there's 5 people already calling you in a hurry. So why are you going to go upstairs and around the block to get a paper blood test? Fuck that. These ones are fine. The fact that that other blood test might show something deadly, it's like today is good. The patient stuff comes up on the computer that's next to the patient, because in each place there's a computer there, and blip, up it comes, and they put their notes in there instead of just on these bits of paper that go, where did they go? And so, yeah, a lot of doctors just goes bang, hits the computer. That's what's current. That's what's in the past. And they go, all right, we're going to do this. And then they say, this is what we're going to do. Or actually, this is what the nurses are going to do, because the doctors don't do anything. The nurses do it all.
Yeah.
And then they bugger off, and the nurses do it. And
Yeah.
you get out quicker. Which is great. Everyone loves that. Anyway,
Yeah.
I think Australia is going to be a little bit different to Italy in the sense of how they treat patients, because Australia has, oh, fuck it, I'll just say it now. Australia has been practicing for massive outbreak for years. Every year they do the minor practice,
Yeah.
and every 2 or 3 years they do the major practice. The major practice
Yeah.
is national. The minor practice is city. Each city does its own. The
Yeah.
major practice is national. Okay.
Yeah.
And so what they do is they drop a disease in a city somewhere, in some city, right?
Mm.
So, and either an airplane comes in, or a boat comes in, or something comes in, and then and without anyone knowing, it's incubated, and then bang, it takes off.
Yeah.
And the first, because they do on the phones, and they do, bloody actual people, medical people.
Yeah.
The first thing we hear is, we can't get hold of Darwin. No one in Darwin is picking up. It's like, what?
That sounds like a fun start to a thing. Yeah.
It's a fun start to a thing.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, we've got to get those things from Darwin, and then no one in Darwin's picking up.
Yeah.
And then someone in Darwin Hospital has picked up and said, emergency, quarantine, and then put the phone down. Something's wrong. So we've got to send a team. And that's how they do it. That's how they do the exercise. But they do it physically. They don't do it just on paper. They do it physically.
Yeah. No, they
And
have to go and do stuff. Yeah.
mm,
They do that every now and then. I've known medical people, like, an ex of mine was a nurse. They do physical disaster training just to give some doctors training in triage. One is like a passenger plane crashes into a suburb. So like everyone on the plane's dead, but it's taken out dozens of houses as well. And so they have to basically just go through the physical experience of triaging and saying and looking into the eyes of a conscious person, but making the decision, this person can't be helped.
this person is going to die.
And while it's only pretend, and everyone knows it's pretend, basically all the psychological studies say this helps. Going through the physical steps of reading the description of what injuries someone has and sort of looking at them and going, marking them with a red X, which means nothing can be done for them, actually goes some ways to preparing medical staff for dealing with a disaster. I mean, I've got an insider in the health system, and the word is no one's particularly optimistic about the spread of COVID-18. The goal is still, if we can slow the peak, that's do everything possible to contain for as long as possible. And so the peak happens later rather than sooner. Like the basic expectation is the infection rate and the death toll in 12 to 18 months is going to be the same no matter what. It's just a question of if you can contain it so there's not a really sharp peak, because that's what's hit Italy. They've had the peak already and it's completely overloaded their medical system. But if you have the same number of infections and the same number of deaths spread over 12 months as opposed to 2 or 3 months, the system can cope with it. A certain number of people are just going to die. And that's between 1% and 4%, depending on how it works out. For over 60s and over 70s, it's a much higher percentage. But for the overall population, the death rate is not that high. But having all the worst stuff happen in the first 3 to 4 months is way worse than having the same infection and death toll spread over 12 to 18 months.
And you know what's also rough? And I thought about this on my way back from the doctor on Friday. Bloody, what was that? What use was that? Huh? Fucking my fault. I forgot to ask him for the make brain not blow up tablet.
Yes.
And guess what? You've got to ask for brain blow up tablet. You know, the last time I had fucking a whole heap of fucking what do they call them?
It's your brain.
Shit. What's a fit called? A seizure. Last time I had a whole bunch of seizures was when I didn't take this particular drug.
Yes.
Anyway, so on my way back, I was listening to this guy, I'm going to say screaming faggot, on the electric telephone, basically talking about his mother who had sent him or got him a whole bunch of toilet paper. And he was going, oh, for God's sake, oh, please. And I was later on, I was thinking maybe he'd be actually thankful. Anyway, so he was talking about COVID-19, and he was saying, I just don't know if they can cure the common cold and AIDS. Why can't they cure this? And I was going, Jesus fuck.
Wrong on 2 counts, but anyway.
Well, but this is it. Think about this on a mass scale.
Yes.
Think about this on a mass scale, right? You've got people who are A, afraid, B, stupid, and 3, ignorant, right? And so whatever happens, because as this starts to growl and get bigger and bigger and start to take advantage of urban environments, anyone living in a city is going to be subject to this thing as it does its thing and mutates and becomes, more flu-like. As this happens, you're going to have people who are absolutely uneducated in how this stuff works, what it is, how it gets around, what it does to you, how it does it to you, and how you get rid of it. The other thing people don't understand is it only kills 2% of the people that it infects. Now, when you get infected, it's going to suck. It is going to suck harder than a boys' dorm vacuum cleaner, but it's not necessarily going to kill you. Yes, it's going to kill 2% of people, and that's bad. But it's not the terror wave that is that is built up by people who don't have any vaccines. People at the moment in America are pissed off at the government for not releasing the vaccines, and of course they don't have any. And of course now it's a conspiracy that they don't have any. They're keeping them for the Illuminati, and it's it's sad that it's sad that they don't think outside their own experience and think into a community experience where you don't even need a vaccine to keep people safe. You just need really good. You just need really good disinfection to keep people safe. Okay, we've got someone who's sick. Don't freak out. Put them in a safe, clean space and deal with them with masks and gowns and make sure they're clean, make sure their linen's clean, make sure they've got a TV, stuff to read and write, and just keep on cleaning. And you know what? They're going to be fine. They're going to be fine. What kills people when they've got the flu is when they develop pneumonia, when they develop a secondary infection, usually respiratory, sometimes blood infection. It's harder to treat. It's harder to treat, but
yeah,
can.
Level of infection. Pneumonia does seem to be the main killer with COVID-19. It's susceptible people develop pneumonia and their system is just so farked that they can't do it. Yeah, everyone loves quoting accurately, I think, the line from Men in Black where Will Smith says to Tommy Lee Jones, why don't we just tell people about the aliens? People are smart. They can handle it. And Tommy Lee Jones says, no, a person is smart. People are dumb, panicky, dangerous animals. As we've seen, anyone who had any faith in humanity should have had it fucking removed by this toilet paper bullshit. That should have told you exactly what people are like. But the weird thing is there's no threat to the supply. It's just people are buying too much of it. So I'm assuming in a week or so, as they keep churning out toilet paper and rushing in supplies, everyone who's panicked has already got a fucking wall of toilet paper at home and supply will be back to normal because there's no threat to the toilet paper supply. So
wasn't that just Channel 7 being an asshole? Sorry.
The first report, and it might have been Luke who told me on Sunday, Channel 7 on TV said, oh, people are buying up everything in the supermarket. And then snap. By Sunday night, everyone had gone mental. By Monday, everything was missing off the shelves. And it's still the case. Yesterday, I was at the supermarket and I was just looking around. Still no toilet paper, no rice, no pasta, no flour. Dry goods staples were really. I was going to take toilet paper and a better laptop to Aidsy on Sunday, but he was in hospital, which is pretty fucking.
What a prick! What a prick! What an antisocial prick!
Yeah.
Adrian was being in hospital,
Yeah.
and didn't I feel like an antisocial prick in hospital? I tell you what, man. Last time I went in, I wasn't really a happy camper. This time when I went in, I thought I was going to die.
Yeah, not good. Good.
Just, my my muscles were reacting to the to the oh, I can't even remember what they're called. Not spasms. What do they call them when you um when, when you have a fit? What are they called?
Seizure.
Seizure. Yeah. My muscles were reacting to the seizures before they happened properly, and
Okay.
so I was starting to basically melt down. And um, because I couldn't stop, I couldn't sleep, and because I couldn't sleep, it was getting worse and worse. And so
Yeah.
this thing was spiraling until, and I was going, "Don't, dude, just relax. You don't have to shake. It's no big deal. You don't have to make a big deal of this. You just relax and you'll be fine." And this was what I was doing um, after I had the infection, and
Yeah.
going, just relax, you'll be fine. And then this was happening more and more and more and more. And finally, it just, I couldn't handle it. And the spasms were going, and I was going, okay. And I was conscious of that. And I thought, all right, I'd better hit the hospital because, and then bang, off they went. And I have very little memory of the next sort of 2-3 hours.
Yeah.
And yeah, then they then I woke up in hospital going, geez, I feel so much better.
Ah.
Yeah, I feel so much better in hospital. And what had happened in the ambulance is they'd given me a big whack of anti-seizure drug and benzo drug.
Yeah.
And I woke up going, ooh, lovely. Ooh, yes, my friends are home.
Mm.
Nice. And they were talking to me about it. And then I started going wobbly again. I'm going, why am I going wobbly again? And they said, because you didn't take your drugs for a long time
Mm.
and they've been eaten up straight away. So we're going to give you some more now. Whack. Um, and I slept for the first time in days. I slept. Tell you what, it was good. Now, let's think about someone like me
Yeah.
in a situation where everyone's freaking out about COVID-19. Um, do I get a look in? I think so. However, it's the Australian health system. I think it's a bit different here.
Yeah.
I think they'd be able to do everyone because I think, look, Australia as a nation relies on its people. Now,
Yeah.
I know that sounds every nation relies on its people. No, it doesn't. Britain doesn't rely on its people by a long shot. Italy doesn't rely on its people. Um, Italy relies on its things. And we know that because there are fake there are fake tourist guides in the Colosseum. There are fake Roman soldiers coming to be a tourist guide, and they get your money and take you around, but they're not official. So it's stuff like that, right?
Yeah.
But here in Australia, to make anything go, you need a person to make it go. Also, culturally, even our art. This was shown to me by a New Zealander. Everything in Australia only has value if it can go. if it can be made to go. Even our art only has value if it does something. And by something makes you feel this or that, or makes you think this or that, or makes you see this or that. It's got to go. It can't just be and sit
Yeah.
there as a fey piece of color. No, no. We don't have that. We don't allow that.
Yeah.
Art's got to make something happen. It's got to make something, move from there to there.
Yeah.
As a result of this, culturally, the people are important. And yes, a lot of people come in with a new disease, and that is a bad thing, and that will um, overload the hospitals. Well, not quite. You see, there's actually a little bit of uh, uh, elastic put into the Australian health system. There's almost like what you'd call a health reserve. There are a heap of nurses, particularly. Nurses are your key. Doctors,
Yeah.
definitely yes, but nurses are your key. See, the doctors you can get if you put money in. Um, Overnight in a hospital, there's only a few doctors on, and you're waiting for the doctors to turn up, right? But if you're prepared to put the money in, all of a sudden you've got a lot more doctors. And in a crisis like that, you'd have a lot more doctors. The big problem is nurses. That's the big thing. And if you could get the nurses, you're fine. You can increase your hospital capacity, no problem. Um, Also, to Australia's health system
Mm.
makes it so that not everyone goes straight to the hospital. If you don't have to go to the hospital, you get diverted off to your own home with very good treatment. And, our GPs are fucking awesome. Um, I've been to GPs around the world and they suck. Um, you know, Bloody, our whole system comes from Scotland. Um, and you'd expect the British system to be bang up,
Yeah.
and it would be if the GPs weren't shit.
Yeah.
And they're shocking. Have you ever noticed, as you're running around Australia, that you don't
Yeah.
see British doctors in our hospitals? You see Indian doctors. You see, I was going to say Vietnamese. That's not real. They're Australian.
Yeah.
Um,
Yes.
it's the
There's a
funniest thing is you see these Vietnamese kids turn up and go, "G'day, mate. How you going? So you've been in the wars, have you? All right."
Mm.
Anyway, so I'm just saying the Australian medical
Yep.
system will probably cope fairly well.
Yep. Oh, well, speaking of medical system, did you take your prescribed medication? Because half an hour ago you said
Not
you had to take it in half an hour.
right. Yes, we're going to
I'm
do that
looking after
now.
you. I'm looking after you. Yes, I
Thanks,
tried
matey.
to bully and
I'm
abuse you.
doing that. I'm doing my prescribed medication now. How many? What is that? Two of those. Yeah, two of those. Where's the other one of those went? Oh, I'll take three of those then. Canal. So yes, I'll have to take three of those, and then the other one of those that I'm going to take is going to make me a little bit loopy.
That,
But it's a loopy that you've seen before.
that's it.
Um,
This is going to be the challenge. Is anyone going to notice the difference? That's
I
it's
think
the,
you'll notice the difference. This is
the-
you remember the big hardcore loopy? Do you remember that one?
oh yeah. Hey, big cat.
That's that one.
Yes, I remember when the final tethers are severed, and you just decide to speak very angrily about people and things that piss you off because the last internal sensor has been smothered with a pillow.
Well, there's that one, but this is the one where I go with Pink Floyd, and then when I get off that bus, I hook up with Led Zeppelin. Mostly with Led Zeppelin. And then finally, I say hi to the boys at AC/DC.
Yeah. This is the dude that lets you go all night on white night type of thing.
Yep. Except
this,
sorry,
just speaking about being angry, they managed to kill White Knight with what they did last time. That was shit.
yeah, go on.
They 50 to 75% of the stuff that had been there on previous events wasn't there, and they tried to space it out over 3 nights instead of going all night, one night, and it like finished by midnight. It's just like, no. Catherine's got a keen eye. Catherine noticed your medication package has the don't operate heavy machinery red triangles on it.
Catherine, they all have the don't operate heavy machinery. Look at this.
Yeah.
This is this is a bloody what do they call it? Not a penicillin, antibiotic, right? It's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of the little stickers on. Shit, I could tell you what they are. Let me get my glasses on. I'll tell you what they are. All right. Oh, bloody hell. Someone has
got greasy hands on it.
Someone's put greasy hands all over my glasses.
Yeah.
Someone's going to get into trouble. I would say boss of the house, but he hasn't touched him. So, it's a bit hard to make him in trouble for it. What I'm going to say is the help.
Yeah.
When you get boys of other nations.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
I know what you're saying.
You know what I'm saying. Mm-hmm.
You feel talking about you have to be an Australian to call AC/DC Akadaka. I did actually see a YouTube video with some people talking about different music parties, and there was an Australian and American, and the Australian lass is going, now if you want to go off with some Akadaka, and the person goes, I'm game, I've never heard that. Play me some of that. And she goes, really? I don't believe you've never heard Akadaka. And no, play it for me. And she plays it, and he goes, that's AC/DC. And she goes, yeah, that's what I said. And it's just like, and he's going, Akadaka? What the fuck? And
no, what the fuck? It's Akadaka. Hello, other cunt. Also, David.
Hey, David, how you doing? So you're taking your medication. The best I can do is make a cocktail. I have one in mind because I was just, while we were talking.
All right. Well, while you're doing this, let me tell you what you've got to be warned about. Here we go. Do not take dairy products, antacids, iron or calcium supplements within 2 hours of each dose of this medicine. Take on an empty stomach at least half an hour before food or 2 hours after food. Avoid excessive skin exposure to sunlight and sun lamps while being treated with this medicine. This medicine may affect mental alertness and or coordination. Shut up. If affected, do not drive a motor vehicle or operate machinery. To be taken until all used. All right. Now that's that one. Now there's this one. This one's a beauty. Here we go. Yeah. This medicine may cause drowsiness and may increase the effects of alcohol if affected. Do not drive a motor vehicle. Now, this one is morphine. So, yes, it might do that. But I'm
Yeah,
not taking any of that because I don't need any of that. Jesus, that was good, though.
yeah,
Oh, yeah. When I when I had the infection,
yes.
I thought, oh, I'll be right, it'll go away, and it didn't. And then I thought, I am going to die. And then I went into the hospital, and then they stuck tubes in me in all the wrong places. But I think I told everyone about that last week, right?
Yeah, things being stuck in that you didn't like.
Yeah. So anyway, they let me home, and they gave me that to come home with. I was eating it while I was talking to you guys, and because I thought I'm going to fucking die here. And a couple of those, geez, it's the go. I tell you that much. Yeah, no, effectively, life goes on. I could, I couldn't function and operate machinery, but I could do stuff like exist. So I'll be remembering that in the future and being grateful for it. But for now, I've also got to find the other thing that I'm doing. Oh, here's the one that I've got to do. Yeah, that's this one. This is the one that made Boss of the House very proud of me.
Okay.
Yeah, I can explain that later.
Oh, that's fair. Okay,
Mm.
I found a cocktail with limoncello, and I have some limoncello, and I haven't used
Ooh,
any of it in ages. So this is, of course, a very Italian-themed one called Sorrentino, I should say, and it's vermouth. It says sweet vermouth, but I'm going to use my special Australian vermouth, which I'm not sure where it actually officially sits on the sweet and dry spectrum. So that 1 ounce of the limoncello, which is what all bloody Italian grandfathers make and fucking ferment under their house in Australia. And it said, was it 3/4 of an ounce of Campari, which I don't like and don't have, but Aperol's like its less extreme cousin. So I'm going to put 1 ounce of Aperol in it. Still a bitter Italian aperitif and the same color, red. Now it actually says to top it with soda. I might be a bit gauche and top it with lemonade because I've got lemonade and not soda. I use lemonade to rinse out my measuring jigger. Actually, get the last few drops of alcohol. Just top it up a little. So, I got. What am I doing? Buggered up something. There we go. I buggered up something on my laptop. David can't afford cocktails, so drinking Apera, which is as cheap as chips sherry. It's also nasty, but that's a nice color. It's sort of very orangey red color.
gorgeous. It's a gorgeous color.
So I don't know what it's like. It's always fun to try something for the first time, but that's nice. That's just you wouldn't even think. Now the 3 ingredients in it are comparatively low alcohol. The limoncello is 30%. That's not that low, but things like vodka and gin tend to be 40%. Aperol's only 11%, so it's mainly for the flavor and the bitterness you put that in. And vermouth is 16%. So I suppose that's averaging out at about 20%.
It is, isn't it?
Something like that. So that's not that high alcohol. It's probably only what, 2 standard drinks, maybe 2 standard drinks in there.
In there somewhere.
That's no. Oh, Bobo's doing a Scotch and cola. Hi, Big Pat Wrestling Days. How you doing, buddy?
Yeah, Big
Good to see you.
Pat.
Oh, this is actually really nice. It's really refreshing. Like, I mean, it said to do it like in an old-fashioned glass, which I've done, and topped it up. But I reckon, you could maybe double up the measures and do it in a tall glass and top it with soda or lemonade, and that would be a goddamn refreshing beverage. You can just make it into a tall drink.
Mm.
You wouldn't get that drunk until you had like 3 of them. Yeah, I know. Well, that was the one I made on the weekend. It was. Yeah.
You wouldn't get that drunk until you'd had 3, 4, and then taken your pants off and decided to pogo on you, and then realised that maybe
I found out. You know how we're always like, I'm trying to find out if it's something day for these live streams. I like today because it's March 10th. This is not officially, but March 10th is Mario Day, because if you put it in capitals, MAR10 looks like Mario. So it's me, Mario.
Mario Day.
Yeah, I found out it was like Thursday or Friday last week. You laugh, it always seems to be drink something day. It was Thursday or Friday last week was absinthe day. On those things where someone admits it. So I spent the night drinking absinthe cocktails that I was making at home. I've made a variation on a drink I found that was a tiki type drink, and because it had absinthe in it, I called it a tiki fairy. Because traditional green absinthe is often known as the green fairy. I think the maker of my absinthe uses a fairy on the label. But anyway, that was one shot. The way I made it was 1 shot of Kraken black rum, 1 shot of Captain Morgan spiced rum, 1 shot of Falernum, which is kind of a spiced flavored cousin of rum, 1/3 of a shot of absinthe, because we didn't want to overdo the absinthe, and a lime juice. And it's remarkable, like in a drink that had 3 shots, 2 shots of rum and 1 shot of a rum liqueur, and just like a 1/3 of a shot of absinthe. The absinthe came up front and center and punched you in the face. And it was really nice, but that's what I said. I tell you what, 2 or 3 of these and you'd be causing trouble. Because it's really, really out there. The other one I posted on Instagram, I did a variation of what they called a AAA. I substitute one of the A's, but this was even. It was like absinthe, Applejack, and Aperol, and this is my 80% absinthe of. I did 1 shot of 1 shot of Applejack, which is an American apple brandy. And then, 1 shot of Aperol. And I put a shot of lime juice in it as well to take the edge off it.
I've never heard of Aperol.
Aperol, the Italians love their bitter aperitifs. The one, like the big trendy drink at the moment is the Negroni, which has my nemesis in it. Which is much friggin' more bitter. The Campari, which is very well known, but is too. No, I had a bad experience with Campari, and so I've never liked it. But Aperol looks very similar. They're both really bright red, and Aperol is also a bitter aperitif, but it's much less bitter than Campari. And then you get the Italian Amaris. They're the usually dark ones. Again, they're bitter and they're dark and herbal and whatnot, and I like them. I've got a few variants on. I think I've got 3 variants on Amaro in my collection, my rather excessive alcohol collection. But Yeah, the Italians love their bitter drink for whatever reason. There are a whole bunch of Italian liqueurs and fortified wines that are really, really bitter. And I like them as a balance. Like this one is, I will say it again. I've never made this one before. Sorrentino. This is fucking great. I might even try making this one day, even without topping it with the lemonade. It says to top it with soda, but just the actual things, which is vermouth, limoncello, and in my case, Aperol. Even though the recipe said Campari.
That's probably, isn't that a little bit? I mean, that's a bit full on. Going the bitter route. I mean, it's already full on. I mean, but I wouldn't know. I'm sitting over here trying to get a cleaning rag to open. So, I mean, what do you think will be the big advantage of putting the bitterer?
Well, okay. So the Italians, a lot of the ones, they call them aperitifs. They're appetizers. There is an idea that an aperitif boosts your appetite, ready for your meal. Like you have an aperitif before you have dinner. The idea is that it gets you hungry. Whereas the Amaros that I was saying, which are the dark ones, they're digestives. So the idea is you have them, like Scotch is often called a digestive. You have a Scotch after a meal. So the heavier drinks, the stronger taste drinks are often regarded as you have them after the meal. That's the digestive. But Aperol and Campari are aperitifs. You have them, yes, David, a pair of teeth. For people who haven't been to the dentist for a while. So I don't know, some idea that you have an aperitif before dinner and a digestive after. So you have fucking Aperol or Campari before dinner and an Amaro after dinner. I think, and vermouth's kind of in the middle, I think. Vermouth is fortified wine, and there's the whole spectrum. Like there's vermouth, but there are fucking probably hundreds of variations, in the spectrum from sweet to dry and with different herbals in them. So I think a vermouth is like a mid-range thing. But Charlie says the Dutch like gin and bitters. Well, the Dutch, I think folklore has it basically invented gin. Gin is flavored vodka, basically. Vodka is meant to be a neutral spirit with no discernible flavor. But of course, when you go into the bottle shops, especially the specialty shops now, you're enjoying that alcohol swipe, are you, Aidsy?
I am, and I was just going to discount anything the Dutch said.
Fair call.
Basically.
But, you go into a bottle shop now, and there's
enjoy your gin, Dutchman.
There's all these variations on vodka, and they are flavored. Technically, according to the strict definition of vodka, they're not vodka because vodka is meant to have no discernible flavor. But you see all this stuff on the shelf, and they're selling it on its flavor. So arguably, gin's just flavored vodka. Gin's a neutral spirit that's been flavored with botanicals, and the primary flavor is meant to be juniper, and then you can add whatever custom thing. And the progenitor of gin, the Dutch called Jenever, which was a juniper-based drink, as you can tell from the name. The Dutch called it Jenever, and you can still get Jenever, and the English just called it gin. It's like, Jenever, that sounds a bit fucking pretentious. It's gin.
You may as well just get on the fucking TGV and go and get some proper gin from fucking London. That's all I'm saying.
Mother's Ruin, because gin was
Mother's ruin.
notoriously
That's right. I forgot about that.
gin was
I've had.
notoriously
Sorry, shut
high
up.
alcohol.
Angry. Stop.
What?
I've had Geneva. A Dutchman brought it to a party that we had, and it was gorgeous. We had 3 different types, 3 different flavors, and yeah, the juniper base, but we had a orange and sack lemon.
Yeah,
Oh, you want bitter? That's some bitter. That's
yeah.
gin where the tonic goes. It's a bit dry for me. And we had strawberry gin. Can you imagine a strawberry gin?
Yeah, yeah,
And it was really, really nice. So
yeah.
yes, your Dutch gins are quite fine. Um, it's like they're more delicate, but more deep flavor
Well,
wise.
yeah. It's like it's literally Yennefer is the progenitor of gin, and the English took it. And the original English gins, for whatever they put in it, had a light blue tinge. The great gin moral panic of, I think it was the late 1800s in England, where gin really it might have been earlier than that. Gin really took off, and because gin was notoriously higher alcohol the gin they had was higher alcohol content than even Scotch and Irish whiskey. Tended to be like 50%, as opposed to 40%. And so some of the nicknames for gin, like I mentioned, Mother's Ruin, because gin was renowned for destroying working class families. And Blue Ruin was another one. I don't know if you remember, Izzy, there was an Aussie 80s band called Blue Ruin, and
Yep,
that was an old nickname for gin.
was it
They did a good
was
version of that classic Venus, which was
they did.
sort of a 60s pop song originally, but they did this dark, grungy post-punk version with these really dirty looking guys go, I'm your Venus, I'm your lover, your desire.
Well,
So,
because the what was that bloody girl band that was very famous that did it?
the girl band that
Come on,
did Venus was, what was it, Bananarama?
Bananarama.
Yeah?
And then a few other people did some covers as well.
Yeah.
And there was Blue Ruin did it, and then there was also Ariadne's Tears,
Yeah.
and it was one of those whispered ones,
Yeah.
and it was really creepy and kind of cool.
Yeah.
I wanted them to do bloody. Why am I trying to think of things?
I
What's the
don't know.
point?
Your
It's
brain's
not
not
like
working.
I can remember anything in my current state.
Yes.
You want to stand up next to a mountain, knock it down with the edge of my hand. Voodoo Child. I wanted to do Voodoo Child in the whisper version, because I reckon that would be really good.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
I was also going to say something really useful to us all.
Go,
Um,
go for it.
and it was going to be basically about so we had lots of and we did that, and
Sorry.
we
I
did
gotta I'm just gonna
oh
distract you. I found a list of gin nicknames that
did you
include, besides Blue Ruin, Green Gimbal, The
ooh
Devil's Left Hand,
ooh
Cuddy Bang,
what the
Bumpy
fuck is
Face.
that? What
That's
the
that's something a really drunk person said. Gully
Cuddy
Wop.
bang? Can you go back to Cuddy Bang and start
Yeah,
again?
Cuddie bang, Cuddy
Yeah,
bang.
and then go from there.
Well, there was the Devil's Left Hand, Cuddy bang, Gully Wash, Jumatronic, Pine Cone Coffee, because some gins have a real pine sort of thing, which makes people who don't like it think it's kind of like toilet cleaner. So there's all again the great gin panic in England promoted all sorts of colourful. Mother's Ruin is still my favourite. I love that as a name.
All
It's
right. Mother's Ruin is a
mm,
fucking great name for gin. At the moment, right now, fuck me, shoot me. At the moment, the moral panic is for nitrous oxide bulbs.
isn't it? No, isn't it?
Now, and the nitrous oxide terror is sweeping our nation,
The
and
name.
is clearly going to destroy our kids and their animals, and so obviously we don't know what will happen with this because we don't have long-term results.
Yes.
And we don't know how to safely deal with this. And so I think to make sure the moral panic lasts, we should make up some names. So, ladies and gentlemen, who is in the live comments, we're needing some names for nitrous oxide bulbs to help us with the moral panic.
Moral panic.
And Angry, you and me, I think, should be thinking about the
Yep.
moral panic.
Yep. I'm going Devil's Breath.
Oh,
Yeah.
bang! Straight out of the gate.
Yeah.
Devil's Breath.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
Giggle Juice, because it's
But
laughing gas. Giggle
what is
Juice.
Giggle
Giggle
Juice?
Juice.
Yeah, but that's not plants with its roots in hell.
No, but not
Um,
all the names are negative. That's what I'm saying. Some of them.
yeah, all
Oh,
right,
just call it
okay.
Giggity. Giggity.
Giggity is nice.
That's like those weird names I was saying for gin that you can't work out why the fuck someone would call gin that. Call Nangs Giggity. No, I don't know why anyone called them Nangs for a start. What the fuck is Nangs?
Oh, I did know this. Oh shit!
Google know. I'm
It
gonna
was
ask
a yeah. Google probably know. Google probably know.
why called Nangs.
What's Google say?
What is it? What are they called? Nang means cool, wicked, or good.
No, it doesn't.
No, I've literally never heard anyone say that.
No, it doesn't.
What are Nangs called in England? No. What does Nang mean? Internet slang. That's on a site called internetslang.com. That's foolish.
Yes, that's foolish. I think it's time for me to also look up stuff, but I don't want to break everything, so I'm going to put this back. Just there. I can't actually stand up because I've got no pants on.
That's fine.
Ooh,
Dangerous rise in use of names. Now, look, admittedly, no matter what a substance is, there is always someone who will abuse it. And yes, you would have to do 100 nangs in a row 5 times a day to suffer some sort of debilitating effect. Charlie thinks we should call it the dentist's assistants. I want to go further than that. I want to call it Dr. Toothy's little friend.
Dr. Toothy's little friend.
Yeah.
Oh, I like Dr. Toothy's little friend, actually.
Yeah.
All right. So here I am going to look for,
what are you looking for?
in my own special way. Here we go. And I'm going to search. And I'm going, where's my, oh, that's right. I've got to make it a little bit littler. Yeah. And then I've got to do this.
I know Megalich is mentioning another American Republican who was photographed at the CPAC convention shaking hands with someone who was diagnosed with coronavirus. It's nothing. One of the other Republicans who was in close contact, because the people who were diagnosed weren't just Joe Nobody, was like a high value contributor to the funds, so got to go to all the special parties with the high flyers. And one of the Republicans who've put themselves in, voluntary quarantine while they wait to see, because they had close contact with this thing. After CPAC and before quarantining, this dead shit called Matt Gaetz, he was on Air Force One with Trump. Trump was at CPAC, so was Vice President Pence. But the guy who now is known to have had close physical contact with someone who was confirmed to have coronavirus was on Air Force One with Trump afterwards. I think Trump's shitting himself. I would pay money to have been in the room when Trump got told that he
both
in the same space
bulbs
as someone with COVID-19. What's your answer for why nitrous oxide bulbs are called nangs? You're reading slowly. I'll keep talking then. David's found someone who claims that it's onomatopoeic, namely possibly derived from the sound distortion perceived by consumers.
I was just about to say that.
Okay, you and David are on the same page.
Yeah. Sound distortion derived by consumers. That makes it.
I always like how it only lasted for 20 seconds.
Sorry?
I always like how it only lasted for 20 seconds.
I always like how it only lasts for 20 seconds too. And I always like how it brings attention down a bit.
Yeah, well, it's a good generation. God, I had an experience a couple of years ago with some YouTube friends who were traveling, and they discovered one of these legal highs, which was some concoction that had not yet technically been made illegal because someone changed the chemical composition of it. And the law enforcement was always trying to keep up with this. But they found that when they were on the road...
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, it was a good way to wind down. And it was a thing that you smoked. And I didn't know if it would work on me because I don't... well, no. Because I don't smoke. I didn't know if I'd be able to draw in the smoke enough to absorb it. Because if I sucked it right down in my lungs, I thought I'd just choke one off. But it was quite the experience. It's like, okay, we're all trying it. And it's like, I don't know, is it working? And then 2 minutes later, fucking tripping balls. And it lasted for about 5 minutes. It was really interesting. Like, it wasn't instant. It took a minute or two to come on. And then it was like full-on tripping balls, lasted for about 5 minutes, and then it basically went away. Yes, yep. If Trump gets coronavirus and dies, a famous onion eater once said, shit happens. So,
yep. Actually, that's nice, isn't it? Anytime something like that happens, we can say a famous onion eater once said.
Shit happens.
Um,
And as
and
English points out, the US Constitution, if both Trump and Pence got COVID 19 and died, the next in line for the presidency is Democrat leader of the House, Nancy Pelosi, which is pretty fucking funny, quite honestly. But
that
I
is
mean,
pretty funny.
Pence is really low risk. He's 60, but he's in really good health. But Trump's 70 something and in really fucking shithouse health. He's really high risk. He is really high risk. And now we know
Yeah,
he's
but sorry, go on.
really high there's a really high chance he's been directly exposed. But yeah.
At the same time, though, we've got to remember that these high-risk individuals, like these old American people,
Yeah.
are the old rich American people, are the ones that have had actual health care. So we
Yeah.
look at Americans and go, oh, they die at this age and they die from these things, right? But then what we don't do is we don't look at the rich Americans and go, right, they die at ridiculously old age from these ridiculously old age things. Think about I can't remember that guy. He was a Republican, and he was a B-52 pilot, and he got shot down, and he wanted to be a president.
Yeah, John, what's his name?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, he ran against Obama and lost.
right. He ran up against Obama, and he lost. Thing is, okay, he was technically really unhealthy. Okay, but if you actually sat back and looked at it, there's no fucking way he should have been alive. He should have been
McCain,
really dead. Huh? What did you say?
Inhaled. This is it. Coronavirus has got me. I'm dying.
We'll wait.
John McCain.
John McCain, right?
Yeah, well, he was tortured. He had some really significant physical impairments from being physically tortured.
Exactly. This is what I'm saying, right? He had some severe physical impairments from being tortured. He shouldn't have been alive. If you take the, why do I know this? All right. When I first got arthritis, I got told by some horrid, nasty little shit comedian who I'll tell you who it was when we're off air.
Sure.
Basically, he said, "Oh, you're not going to live real long now," and I've gone, "Wow, thanks, cunt." And basically, I've gone, "Well, fuck you," and I've looked it up, and technically, he was right. But what it meant was my life expectancy would be brought down.
Yeah.
And what I found out was life expectancy of people who've had really massive physical trauma comes down.
Yeah.
And every time I have really massive physical trauma, and that's terrible when you can say every time I have massive physical trauma, not the times I've had. Just, we know the next one's around the corner.
Yeah.
It brings my life expectancy down a little bit more.
Yeah.
And the other thing is that, and this is going to shit both of us.
Yes.
Baby boomers, people's life expectancy right now, women's life expectancy is about 81. Men's life expectancy is about 78. That's not real. Baby boomers are going to live to about 100. You got to understand that medical science gets exponentially better every 2 to 5 years. Gets better and better and better and better. all the time. Back in my day, whippersnappers, when you got arthritis, you had 10 years of really shitty treatment that left you in consistent pain for the rest of your life. And
Yeah.
it also left your bones bent. I was really lucky to only have my bones bent a little bit. And my grip isn't
Yeah.
great, but I can grip things. You see these old poor ladies and they're gripping things like monkeys, you know.
Yeah.
But nowadays they get chemicals where they give it to you, and within 3 months, arthritis is just gone,
Okay.
um, which is fantastic. But what it means is that that disease is no longer a thing. Hip replacements these days. My parents, both had a hip replacement. They
Yeah.
were out of hospital in days, right? Used to
Yeah.
be 10, 15 years ago, you were in hospital for a month, and then you were in and out of rehab for another month. No, today you're out in 2, 3, maybe 4 days. You're into rehab that you travel to.
Yeah.
Then you are expected to drive yourself around after a month and a half, couple of months. Um, you're expected to drive yourself around and be completely um, independent. Now, this is an expectation of a hardcore, full on um, uh, medical operation. It's a very full on medical operation. You are taking out an internal bone, like one of your core bones, and replacing it with mechanical more titanium and silicon. Um, so you know what we don't what we don't what we don't account for is the fact that this medical science thing gets better and better and better all the time,
Yeah.
and that our baby boomer friends, who are very good at screaming and demanding everything for themselves,
Yeah.
will be getting the very best in medical care. Um, uh, if they have to spend everyone else's money to do it. And they will live for a very long time. It'll be interesting to see what they do economically when they run out of people that they can take money off. That will be fascinating to watch. I am waiting for this. This is something that I am looking forward to. I reckon. What do you reckon? 10 years, 15 years?
No. I mean, the longevity thing. Who knows? I mean, like one of the speculations I've seen that I find interesting is like, notwithstanding a possible societal collapse, if we manage to find something to maintain society in the face of climate change and no other catastrophe causes societal collapse, so things continue as they are and continue to improve as they are. One speculation is that the first person who will live to be 200 years old has probably already been born.
Yeah,
Uh,
for sure.
because, we get people living to 120 now.
Hmm.
Um, and
I
that means
expect.
when you think about it, those people were born in the fucking late 1800s, and yet they lived when the average expectancy was, I don't know, 50 or 60 years, and some people lived to 120. So we
I
get
ex-
to now, you could reasonably expect someone could live to 200.
I expected junior angries to
Yeah.
live to at least 120.
Be
I,
normal.
I, I expect it to be normal for them to live to at least 120.
Yeah.
Because they're intelligent and they're healthful, I would say
Mm,
130.
mm.
My my nephews, my youngest nephews, I would expect them to live to 150 just straight out.
Yeah.
And my older nephews between 130, 150 in there.
Mm.
Um, I just would expect that. I would expect my younger brothers to live to 110. And uh, let's not let's not just put 80 in the pool there just for now. Let's leave my age a surprise.
Yeah, yeah. I think people need a surprise as well.
Mm,
Um, people need a surprise every now and then. They don't need the horrifying truth all the time. So
thank you.
I'm older than you, man.
No, they don't need they don't need the horrifying truth all the time.
Although, do you have the pleasant experience at work, like talking with people because they don't know me that well, and someone's going, "Oh, he's talking about his kids who are youngins," and saying, "Do you have kids?" And I went, "Yeah, I've got two." And he's going, "Oh, like mine are 5 and 8. How old are yours?" I'm like, 19 and 22. And he's like, "What? How have you got a 19 and a 22?" I said, "Well," he thought I looked young, and I go, "Well, it's the good, clean Christian living. That's the answer. That is the answer." And he looked at me weirdly, and I said, "No, if I have one tip, it's stay out of the sun. That's as
Yeah,
simple as that.
that's what it is. Don't,
Don't
yeah.
go in the sun. I never go in the sun." I even remember like going back to Dubbo, my hometown, and seeing guys I went to school with, and they look 10 fucking years older than me because
Yeah.
Dubbo has brutal summer sun, and
Oh,
these guys
shit, yeah.
these guys
Shit,
go
yeah.
out in the sun. We're one step removed from desert in Dubbo. In fact, you
Yeah.
go west of Dubbo, there's fucking nothing until Broken Hill.
Well, this is it. You go past Dubbo and then you get the red sands,
Yeah,
the lazy red dust.
yeah. Well, there's one idea that that's what Dubbo means because people never fucking bothered to learn the First Nations languages.
Yeah,
There's,
but it was coons,
there's,
and why
there's
listen to coons?
yeah,
Because, they're black.
yeah,
And obviously they don't know English, and obviously because they're black, they're black.
yeah. There are two theories of what Dubbo means. One is that it's a reference to the red earth that's so common, the red dust that's so common in the area. And another one is as a type of ceremonial headdress that in one dialect is tubu, which might have, again, fucking colonizers just going, and because it's weird because it's this headdress that goes up like this. And one of the earliest settlers who's credited with first setting up the first property that he called the Dubbo property, his style of house had this chimney smokestack on it that went up in a very similar style to this particular sort of ceremonial headdress. So that lends some credence to the name is a derivative for this headdress. But apparently, in a completely different language, there's a word to describe the red dirt that sounds like Dubbo. So no one knows for real because no one took the actual local people very seriously. So no one really knows why the town's called Dubbo.
Bloody, I was going to, oh, fuck. I had it there for a second and it ran away. Fucking, not the headdress, but the lazy red dust and the people. Oh no, fuck it. I'm
Well,
sorry, I haven't got it.
no, it's gone.
If I find it, it'll come back. But it's all about our first peoples, our indigenous peoples, and how they dealt with all kinds of things. Well, GOP send Ted Cruz is staying at home after exposure to a man with coronavirus. I hope coronavirus is okay. Well, it's not. And I think we should be more and more. Oh, this looks like a fucking microphone.
Doesn't
Oh,
it?
how good is that? I'm just gonna put that there.
Let's put our
Yeah,
microphone.
no, I don't think that the coronavirus is okay at all. I think Ted
What
Cruz
can I
should
say?
basically have a Prince Albert piercing.
Yeah. Well,
To
he's the Zodiac killer, don't you know? Um,
Ted
some
Cruz.
Yeah, some internet wag made up a thing. Like, there's someone supposedly witnessed someone who could have been the Zodiac killer and got a police sketch. And like most police sketches, is fucking terrible
Fucking
and doesn't look
shocking.
like anything. And someone came up with that looks like Ted Cruz, and so it's an internet joke now that Ted Cruz is the Zodiac killer. I'll find the picture. Ted Cruz next to the picture of the Zodiac. They actually don't look anything like each other, in my humble opinion. No, that's not a good one. What's this one? Where are we? Visit that site. Where's the picture? Show me the picture. There's Ted Cruz. Ted Cruz, the Zodiac Killer. Where's the picture? There it is. Okay, now I'll share this, and I think you'll probably agree that this actually doesn't look anything like Ted Cruz. But that's the picture. That's the picture that people said that really shitty police sketch looks like Ted Cruz, and it honestly doesn't look anything like him.
Got
But
nothing to do with Ted Cruz.
someone came up with that joke, which I appreciate as a joke. Yeah, that actually just look at the Music Lab is saying Ningen is west of Dubbo. Ningen is not straight west of Dubbo. Narramine's west of Dubbo. And then there's fucking nothing until Broken Hill. I'm actually going to bring it.
Ningen is in a different direction.
Yes. I'm going to bring it up.
And I'm sorry to be such a bitch about it, but First Peoples, politics-wise, it's very important. It's very important. And if you start going, oh, Ningen and Dubbo and Broken Hill are all in the same area, you might get a fucking spear in you.
Look, I'm going to share a map because the names in that part of the country are just fucking magical as far as I'm concerned. Where's my map? No, that's not it. This one. So look, here on the map, in the middle we have Dubbo, and surrounding it, you've got Terramunga Mine, Mogragai, Gunu Forest, Yamunjeri, Ilong, Wongarban, Giri, Ponto, Tomingli, Wambangalang. Wambangalang was one of my favourites, I have to admit.
Wambangalang is a very cool place, except it's a very weird place.
Okay, Musical Aviator said Ningen. But we go out west, Narromine, and then Trangie. Trangie's just a fucking bump on a map. There's nothing there.
Yeah.
Cathedral, I don't even know. Oh, no, I think he's actually right. Well, it's northwest. Ningen is up there. I thought it was in a different direction, actually.
What? Ningen, hang on. Where did you think it was?
I thought it was kind of over here towards Dunedoo.
No, it's west. It's definitely west, and it's been definitely up.
Yeah, it's northwest. And then Hemdale, Cobar. That's right. Cobar's out there. Fucking Cobar.
Oh, Cobar. Fuck. I had a weekend in Cobar.
And then you hit Broken Hill.
Yeah.
So
I had a weekend in Cobar with a fucking freak.
Yeah.
Who would have thought?
Could be anyone in Cobar.
I was going to say, who would have thought a freak came from Cobar?
Yeah.
He was a theatre media student.
Yeah.
And he very nearly got expelled from theatre media. Yes, expelled from theatre media. And think about what you've got to do to get expelled from theatre media. And he effectively stole some shit and tried to put the blame on other theatre media students. And he not only did this once, he did this a few times, because it was his funny joke to himself.
Yeah.
And there were like 4 or 5 students who were in the frame for pinching shit when he was there. And finally, the other students and the lecturers said, no more of this. And so he turned around and said, well, I am no longer going to perform in the show that is on tonight. And the lecturers said, don't worry, we will go and have a chat to him. So they went and had a chat to him. Oh, no, hang on. This is the other way around. They went and he was not going to perform. Then they went and had a chat to him. Fun was the day the bloke told me he was glad his town wasn't given a name from an indigenous language. Sadly for him, he lived at Parramatta.
Sure, you'd like that. I'm glad they didn't use an Aboriginal name. Parramatta. Sorry, dude. Sorry.
Fuck, I love that when that happens.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So I heard something similar from a bloke from Ningen. Where was the other one?
I know. I was asking when I was last in Dubbo. It's actually been several years since I've been in Dubbo because there's not a lot to recommend it, quite honestly.
But Dubbo is another one where people go, yeah, I'm glad I don't live in...
just those names in that area. I love all the names around where I grew up. I could just love Galagambone, Quambone, Goulagon, Brewarrina, Cumbora. And
one
then
of the
Lightning Ridge. Lightning Ridge is just stuck in the middle of 100 places that all have Indigenous names. And someone's just gone, I've run out of ideas. Lightning Ridge. What? That's a dumb name. Where's that come from?
I tell you where that comes from.
Well, I know where it came from.
Where did it came from?
Well, lightning hitting a ridge. I don't know. Where did it come from?
Where it came from was it was a owned property near Coobapedy. And the owned property was, coughing up sapphires and coughing up opal. And then the property owner sold it. But cleverly, the property owner didn't sell it to Peeps. Property owner sold it to the mining board, who then chopped it up into mining rights, and people then went and mined it. And so then it was called Lightning Ridge. It was easier just to whack a fucking post office on it. And that happens all over Australia. That it's easier just to whack a post office on it rather than try and go, we're going to make a new name and we're going to do this and we're going to do that. It's like, nah, don't worry about it. We're going to call it what the farm was. And go from there.
Was after a farm, and we're not 100% sure what the farm was named after.
Yeah.
But something from the local people, but we're not 100% sure what.
Yeah.
Kind of like, and in fact, I've always got this weird thing like Melbourne. If you look into the history of Melbourne, John Batman, who's credited with founding the settlement, but he laid claim to a particular bit of land, wanted the town to either be called Batman or Batmania, which would be a fucking awesome name for the town. But he wanted the settlement to, be in the area where he'd claimed the land, which meant he'd get filthy rich, and other people disagreed, and it was actually put in a slightly different location on the Yarra. That happened in Dubbo. This first settler who put the first homestead there, that he called the Dubbo property, he wanted that to be the centre of the town because then he'd make out with like a bandit because the land he'd squatted on he'd then sell off and stuff. But the government just went, oh no, fuck you, we can see what you're doing. We're actually going to centre the town 2 miles down the road. They'd still called it Dubbo, but it was actually 2 miles down the river rather than down the road from where his farm was.
So, I mean, if he'd have been patient for 100 years, he would have made his money anyway. So,
yeah, because the town expanded that far. Yes. I was asking, am I the only one in the city? I, being country town Catholic, am one of 10 kids. I'm the only one in Brisbane's not really a major city. I have 2 siblings in Brisbane, brother and a sister, and I have a brother in Canberra as well. I'm the only one in Melbourne. One's in Bathurst. Well, 2 is in Bathurst, but my sister died. And there's 4 or 5 still in Dubbo. So I'm in the biggest city. I'm the only one. One of my sisters lived in Sydney for a couple of years, but she moved back to Dubbo, which I'll never quite understand. But I'm the only one living in a big city. Got a brother and a sister in Brisbane, and a brother in Canberra, and a brother in Bathurst, and the rest are in good old Dubbo.
You know, I would never have left Bathurst if there was work there. If there was comedy work there, I would never have left Bathurst.
But you made a living for a while because you were at college for a long time.
I was at college for 6 years because I was a shit student.
Yeah.
And then I was in the Blue Mountains for 2.5 years. And then Mario he the fucking cunt offered me a full-time job.
Yeah.
And because I was on the dole, I had to take it. And I said to the dole people, but it's so far away. And they said, not that far away. And I went, you fuckers, because it was because it was in Bathurst. It was literally 1 hour. It was 2 hours and 35 minutes away, which meant that it was close enough. I was going, you fucking assholes, and I went, no, it's close. It's a commute.
Yes.
And I thought, you fuckers. And so because I didn't know that people who were qualified for the public service living in the Blue Mountains had to get on that train at 5:30 in the morning, and they had to turn up at Central
Sydney.
Yep. Fucking the welfare system in Australia is wonderful in the sense that they won't let you starve, but horrible in the sense that they will put you exactly where they want you. What the welfare system is is a system whereby the government gets to prop up an economy where it wants. Yeah,
that is true.
So wherever it wants to prop up an economy, it puts you. And it has all kinds of very clever ways of making you move to where it wants the economy to push forward. Now, one of the other things that it can do is if you get offered a full-time job, it does not matter if you've got family in a certain area. It does not matter if your friends and life are in this this place. What matters is that you've been given full-time work and you're to move there, away from family, away from Americans are saying, oh well, tough shit, you're supposed to do this because you're not supposed to be on welfare. Let's think about this, American folks. Away from your church, away from your pastor. None of that shit matters.
Support network.
None of that shit matters.
Down this rabbit hole, it is time to go to bed.
Right. Anyway, so Mario made me go to fucking Bathurst again to be a kitchen hand, which was cool actually. And then I met 3 really excellent women. Really
Sorry
excellent.
for another day. I remember, like, the thing that weirded me out. Some of because the student makeup at Mitchell, where we met, the college we went to, was about 50% country kids and 50% city kids,
Yep.
and some people who were from Sydney really surprised me because Bathurst is just a little town, but there are some fucking pinpricks on maps surrounding Bathurst, and they're like 20, 30 kilometers out of town. They're like, there's a pub and a post office and 3 houses, and that counts as a town. And some of the Sydney kids rented places there because they were paying literally like $20 a week in rent because no one wanted to live there because it took sometimes up to 45 minutes to drive from this place to Bathurst. And I was going, why are you doing that? I said, Sydney, it takes 45 minutes to get anywhere. I'm used to traveling 45 minutes anywhere.
In Sydney, hour and a half to get anywhere you want. And so they're looking at this 45-minute drive going, piece of piss. The other thing, and one of these guys said to me, the beauty of a 45-minute drive is once you're gone and you get a phone call, I'll come back, we've got an amazing breakthrough. It's like, sorry, I'm 45 minutes away.
Yeah.
Once you go home, you go home. And I thought, that's a bit brilliant. Because where I was, fucking straight back, because I was on Brilliant Street, which meant I could go straight back. And you never go home. Anyway, do you remember the holidays we never had?
Well, I only left Bathurst the first mid-semester break. I went back to Dubbo, and then I decided, wait, living at home with parents is shit. I'm going back to, and I was in Bathurst every holidays, either working on plays or working in the radio station, or
same.
things.
I was there all the time because I had no money. And the only way I could see plays was to be in them. So I had to rehearse all the time, and I realised really quickly that the media part of theatre media was bullshit, and that I had to get into the radio, and the only way I was going to get into radio is if I was there in the holidays. So I had to be in the holidays. And then essentially, I went home for Christmas, and then I would come back, and immediately I went home for Christmas early, just before Christmas. Then I did the Christmas thing. Then I bailed and went back to rehearsal. And then we did the first show. Then I got a lot of shit.
Anywho,
but then the last show I did, I was a superhero. So there you go. It was really great to see you guys tonight. Thank you very much for being with us. You guys really rule, and I think next time we get together, my brain will be a bit more together, and I'll be able to talk a bit gooder.
Well, we'll see how that goes.
All right.
No promises. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah.
So thank you for dropping by. Nice to have you by as always. Look after yourselves. Wash your hands. Spit in if you watch your own seat on public transport, just start coughing and sniffling, and people will stay the fuck away from you. Someone pisses you off, spit in their face.
Start saying "detty, detty, 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 detty," and you'll get some room on the train.
That'll work. But we'll see you again soon, hopefully. But say bye for now. Bye.
Bye for now.